is Mark Hamilton. I am going to call the June 27, 2024 meeting of the Community and Economic Development Authority meeting to order. And our first order of business will to do a roll call, please.
Allen, Garcia, Sierra, Hamilton,
Here.
Hardy, Maldonado, Potts,
Here.
Potts,
Here.
Sanders.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. The next item up on the agenda will be approval of the April 25th, 2024 minutes. And I would entertain a discussion around those minutes. Hope everybody's had a chance to take a look at them.
I would make a motion to approve with one correction.
Okay.
Joyce, I should have told you this ahead of time. It's under item 6A in the bolded motion part. It says sustain Dane to participate in and fund the efficiency navigator. I think it should be in.
Okay.
Just an I missing.
Okay. Any other further discussion? I need a second. I need a second on the motion, too.
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second with that change. Is there any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, we move forward. Item number 4 on the agenda. Are there any public appearances for non-agenda items? I do not see anybody in the room. Have we heard anybody else? No, sir. Okay. We will continue moving forward. So the next thing is resolutions and ordinances. Well, you're looking at me. I'm trying to get my... do we have
There are none.
Nope. There are none. That's what I thought. Nope. Okay. The next item on the agenda, number 6, CETA member appointments to the Housing Advisory Committee and Healthy Neighborhoods Committee. I will first ask, are there volunteers to either one of these committees or any other suggestions about these two committees?
I'll just report that Jenny Sanders has made, or has expressed interest to stay on the Housing Advisory Committee.
Okay. Jenny, is that the case?
That is correct.
Okay. Are there any objections or discussions about that appointment? Congratulations, Jenny.
Do we need an official motion?
Do we need a motion, Joyce? Okay. We need a motion. I'll make the motion to appoint Jenny to this committee. Is there a second? Joe seconded? Okay. Is there further discussion? Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, we'll next move to the Healthy Neighborhoods Committee CETA member appointment. I shared with Joyce, I'm happy to volunteer to serve on this if the group agrees to that, but you need a motion to do that. So,
I would move to appoint Mark Hamilton.
all right, we have a move and a second. Is there further discussion? Okay, we'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay, we got those done. Next on our agenda is our Parks and Recreation and Forestry Director report. That's a mouthful, Scott. But we will leave it up to you to take over. You have the floor.
Thank you kindly. Certainly, I'd like to thank Joyce and Mike for inviting me here today to give you an update on our hub project. And if you may or may not know, the Finance Committee and the Common Council this last Tuesday did approve Sullivan Construction to build the hub. So it's a very exciting time for the parks, certainly an exciting time for the city and the neighborhood. And maybe just to go back a bit, if you recall, the CETA group was really the group that kickstarted this project. I believe it was $30,000 that CETA designated to help us put together the conceptual plan for this project. So kudos to you for your insight and your vision to create this facility in the North Fish Hatchery Road corridor. And actually maybe just a quick how we see this facility functioning. It's really within a community park. So we see it as a community park facility. maybe the prototype of what our future community parks will look like. It will have a building with a couple rentable rooms, which we can get into in a little bit. There'll be a playground here. There'll be a bike facility, and then also a hard court surface, which will have a dual purpose, or actually more than two purposes. It'll be marked for basketball and pickleball, but certainly can provide a venue for community gathering activities, movies, food markets, all of those kinds of things. I will maybe report too, and I don't want to take too much time, but through the evolution of getting the project approved, the first go-around, the council did remove the covered structure. Originally, there was a covered structure that was going to be over the hard court surface, so that was removed. But then over the time of the approval, we were able to get approved the footings. So the footings that will support potentially in the future the covered structure pylons has been approved and is included in the project. So that was a good win for us. And certainly,
So that's a future plan.
Certainly
Is there a
is.
timeline to that?
Well, it's about the money. Well, and that's a good lead into that. With the development of the North Fish Hatchery Road corridor, we've got our parkland dedication ordinances and our park improvement fees. The construction of this facility is going to be all covered by these park improvement fees and parkland dedication fees. So that's a win-win for everybody. But certainly, and actually just to talk a little bit more, there's Hub Phase 1, which is on the north side. And then originally we were thinking about Hub Phase 2 on the south side, which would actually be a full-fledged community center. But really the idea of the north side hub is to, create an incubator to determine whether a larger facility might be needed in the area. And maybe just another piece of this is one of our healthy neighborhoods. So we're really trying to provide the city, maybe their role in these healthy neighborhoods is to provide the physical facility for activities and things to occur, and then hopefully working in partnership with nonprofits and other organizations to provide the services in these communities. And that, now that we've kind of gotten it approved, thanks Alder Jay and Alder Joe for approving this. What I'll really begin to start to focus in now on is the programming of the facility. That'll be our next project, our next initiative. In this, it looks to be about a 12 to 14 month construction period. So the idea of having it completed by late fall of 2025 is a tentative schedule at this point.
Scott, just a clarifying question. I know early on in the planning, and thank you to our alders that supported this and our city leaders, I think it's a great idea. I just have a question. There was an issue of the community right-of-way in front of the building about how wide it should be. And I know that came from former Mayor Steve Arnold and how, was that resolved? Because I knew they want to slow traffic down running through there. Was it resolved?
Well, not to my knowledge. Certainly, it's a different, that's a different lane, no pun intended. Correct. With transportation, but certainly the idea of creating calming transportation types of things, and actually it was kind of set up that there would be a spine, going from north side of Traceway to the south side of Traceway to connect the two properties, and then in theory that could, be an elevated crossing or something marked, but other methods to try and slow down the traffic.
Yeah, I just didn't want it to come up as you got into your construction, and more importantly is there's that Greenway project that you're aware of.
Yes.
That is also going along that same lane. So I just make sure the planning issues don't collide with each other.
In that kind of, this is kind of a piece of the area. We've got the golf course on the south side of Traceway, and we really are envisioning this to kind of be our winter park facility, certainly with snowshoeing and disc golf. I know Dan keeps the course open year-round for disc golf, but there is a bit of topography there, so the idea of a sledding hill and those kinds of things to really, and the vision is really the hard court area could be a skating rink, and then certainly if it's covered, that really would provide some additional programming opportunities at the hub. So.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. I just didn't want it to come up as you got further along the project, so.
And no, I appreciate it. So to summarize, we're very excited about it, and certainly in this, this too is kind of the idea of creating these kinds of spaces in each of our healthy neighborhoods, gathering places for those specific communities, and this won't be. I envision this to be very popular for rentals, and certainly from an economic standpoint, it's going to bring folks to the community, and I think that was kind of your thought when you initially provided the funding to do the concept plans.
Other comments from the committee for Scott? Noted Alder Allen has now joined the meeting, and he has his hands up.
Yeah, just one comment to your discussion from earlier that there probably will be a capital improvement plan amendment to add the cover back to the basketball court that was originally proposed. So
That's
hopefully that will be done at the same time.
I concur with Alder Allen. I think it'd be good to try and do it all at once and get it done. And have a grandkids who live in Minneapolis, those covered things get used in the winter. So that's a great idea.
That's great news to me too.
So I just wanted to mention, from a branding standpoint, we have reached out to Scott and to administration to say that we'd really like to see this branded as something different than the hub. Just because there's so many hubs within the Madison area. And I believe that Mayor Julia Radafrada is looking for names. So I just wanted to let you know that at some point we're maybe looking to rebrand it as a different name to keep us totally separated from Madison. And then the other thing is we're looking to do some type of a groundbreaking in July. So once Scott gives us kind of the go-ahead from what he hears from, and it would be great if all of you guys could make it to that, because it is a really neat, cool thing. So.
Just going on Joyce's point, I know one of our Parks Commissioners had met with a member of the Ho Chunk Nation to look into ways to be able to commemorate the fact that it's on Ho Chunk land. So that is kind of in the works as well.
Okay, well, thank you. So more to come on this. And again, I thank our city folks and Scott, you for helping provide the leadership to get this going. I think it's going to be great for our city. So, and we all got Joyce. Joyce, the sooner you can let us know about the groundbreaking, we'll try and get it on calendars. So, anything else from Scott? Okay, thank you, Scott, and good luck. Next on the agenda is hotel room tax considerations, specifically the Dane County Boys and Girls White Party. So I'll look at Mike and Joyce.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last year, we had two of us attended the White Party. This year, it's scheduled for Saturday, July 27th. So I wanted to see if we could get consideration of possibly two of the tickets at $200 a piece. So I'm looking at $400 for the White Party. This year, it's at the Capitol, and they're unveiling the Vel Phillips statue as part of the event there. So just would ask for consideration of that. I'm not sure who's going yet, but would at least like to have the authorization if we decide to attend and proceed.
Just wanted to say, since I'm on the committee for the Move and Groove for Boys and Girls Club, which is kind of part of the larger event, that I'll be recusing from this item.
I'm also on the same committee, so I need to recuse myself for this item, but it's a great thing that they're doing over there, and the Boys and Girls Club is very important to our city, so. I'll let the other members weigh in and take a vote on this. You need a motion, Mike? Or Okay, so we need to entertain a motion for two
I make a
tickets.
motion.
Okay. Alder Maldonado made a motion. Is there a second? I'll second the motion. All right, we have a second. Is there further discussion about 2 tickets for the Boys and Girls Club White Party? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to taking a vote. I'm sorry.
Vote.
I know, that's what I was getting ready to do. We need to take a vote, and all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
And then just a heads up for probably the next meeting, the Latino Chamber is having their Business Excellence Awards on August 17th, so I'll probably be coming with a request for tickets to that event as well on the next
Important we
agenda.
support our community, so thank you folks for approving that. Mike and Joyce, you can proceed, so. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is Angela here. I don't see her on there, and she's not in the room. So I don't know if we have any Chamber Visitor and Business Bureau update. I'm looking at you guys.
We can just move on. Well, let's go to the
Move on, okay.
next agenda item, and when she's on, we can take it.
Okay, we will now go to the Alliant Energy Center, item number 10 on the agenda, and the discussion of redevelopment of the Alliant Center.
So this is on the agenda, as Mark asked us to do some research at the last meeting and put it on. It's 189 pages, so I included everything, and please feel free to read it at your leisure, because it's a pretty lengthy report. And if anybody has any recommendations, you can either share them with Mike or you can share them with Angela.
I think it's important on this, what's going on over there, and I think since we've got Southdale over there right across the belt line, I think it's important that I look to the 2 alders on the committee. Have you guys taken a look at this as well? And is the council weighing in on comments or feedback for this project? Or should we be? I mean, I certainly think we should be.
Well, it's part of Dane County, so we definitely have a interest in it. There hasn't been any presentation or any discussion at the council level about this. I just got this the other day, so I looked through about 30 pages of the 175 pages. I mean, I'm not sure. I haven't, we haven't been involved with this at all, so I don't know what the vision is. And this, what I read, going through this document, didn't really give me a good idea of what the vision is either. It's this. From what I could see, this is mainly just assessing the current situation. So I don't know.
And it's been going on for a couple of years, and I think now that we have the Joe Parisi's retiring, we'll see where that all goes. But I just think that we need to keep it on our radar screen because it will impact us no matter what is done out there versus our own development in this city, but also more importantly up there by Southdale too. So. Yeah, there's a lot in it, and I just wanted you folks to know about it, so I apologize for filling up your computers.
No, I was surprised that the report was out
Yeah.
when I went to look for it, because I hadn't heard that it was out. I hadn't seen any media coverage or anything, and it was at one time such a hot topic. So.
Okay, well, thank you, and I see that Ms. Kinderman has joined us. So we will go backwards to item number 8, and Angela, or item number 9, excuse me. Angela, I would turn the floor over to you to give a Chamber Visitor and Business Bureau update.
Good morning. You guys are cruising through the agenda, so my apologies if I'm late here. I'm going to just share my screen real quick. I'm here to give you a tourism update from the city. I think I'll start with, if anybody, you notice we were just talking about the governor's office. If anybody had seen the press release from the governor's office last week, I believe, or 2 weeks ago, about the economic impact of tourism in Dane County and actually in Wisconsin. Sorry, I'm having trouble finding my presentation. We had another banner year in Wisconsin. I think it was over 25 billion in economic impact revenue for tourism. Dane County alone, I think, was over 25 million. That represents an 8.5% increase from 2022. So certainly tourism in our state and in our county and local economy really makes a significant impact. 1 second here, and I will try to share my screen. My apologies. I guess also just looking at who's on the agenda here, we were just going to give, some of you may have been at CETA for my last presentation. And let's see. Mark, you threw it to me too soon.
I'm sorry, what? We're ahead of schedule, Angela. You're okay.
Sorry.
Angela, Mike's looking for it too.
Well, I got a few things here. Can you guys see my screen?
Nope.
Just you.
Well, that's annoying. Well, I guess if I can't share the screen, I can just go through the presentation. And do I have an echo on your end now too?
I didn't hear you, Angela.
Okay.
Is there an echo?
Well, again, as I mentioned, we had a banner year in economic impact in terms of tourism for the state and for Dane County. In Fitchburg, we again had another great year. Just as a reminder, this group, we serve as the tourism entity for Fitchburg. And I'm sorry, I'm for some reason not able to share my screen. How about that? There you go.
Yep.
So can you see the screen, I guess, now? There we go.
Yes.
So again, as I mentioned, there's the economic impact. There's actually quite a long report if anyone has an interest in this on terms of how tourism impacts our state. 1 in 21 jobs are sustained by tourism in the state of Wisconsin. As I referenced, Dane County's employment increase of about 4.8% from 2022 in the tourism industry. 113 million trips to Wisconsin. So it really does make a significant impact. There's a very detailed report and that goes into employment, jobs, taxes, et cetera. And if anybody has an interest in that, I'm happy to share that with them. Just shoot me an email. that was good news for our state in terms of that revenue. As the tourism entity for Fitchburg, kind of a reminder of what we do in Fitchburg is we promote, market, inform, create. We serve as the Fitchburg's Business and Business Bureau. We operate in 3 areas of focus. We extend the brand of Fitchburg, corporate development, which includes support, sponsorship, and promotion that would pertain to bringing business here related to our corporate partners, such as conferences, bringing people in for hiring, training, that type of thing. We provide that kind of support to our local companies. And then, of course, what most people think about for tourism, which is leisure development. Our branded section, we do some of the things that we do. For example, you're all familiar with the Fitchburg Business and Visitor Welcome Guide. We print 18,000 copies of that each year. We produce maps of the city and Bike the Burg maps. Quite a few copies of the biking maps are very popular. We have other promotion and marketing literature, materials, videos, that type of thing. We do a monthly visitors newsletter, which is very popular. We have over 4,000 subscribers. It's a really good piece of information about what's going on each month in our community and an opportunity to promote our hotels and our businesses. We update over 35 online media outlets with Fitchburg events and news. We have a significantly increased social media engagement since last year, so that continues to grow for our office and for our community, and 27% increase in web traffic from last year. And what we do is we promote Fitchburg's assets, whether they're leisure, corporate, that type of thing, the infrastructure in Fitchburg. Here's just a few of the places where you can find information about what's going on in Fitchburg that our team updates regularly. Last year, we had quite a few good wins for bringing visitors to our hotels as related to corporate development. We do help sponsor the annual Stem Cell Symposium produced by Promega BTCI and the International Forum on Consciousness. Last year, we brought in people from really all over the country for an ag tourism conference, which was really quite successful. They spent, I think, 5 days at the Stabers Suites and toured ag assets in and around southern Wisconsin. So we had a good group that was kind of played concierge to that group and provided quite a bit of assistance for them. We also provide marketing and design collateral for the economic development team at the city of Fitchburg. There's an example of one of the ads produced by our office, and some other things that we work on. Leisure development is probably the thing that most people are familiar with. Last year, B-Cycle was a big part of our promotion in Fitchburg. The data on that seems to be quite good. People appreciate having them in Fitchburg. Most people are familiar with concerts at McKee. Hosted a nice pickleball tournament last year and are in talks to host more. This year we are adding an event to Fitchburg, or I should say expanding an event that's already quite popular. The Holiday Lights Tour in Fitchburg is quite popular, and we are going to add a kickoff event. And that event will take place in conjunction with a former event that people really appreciated, Get Festive at Agora. So the Holiday Lights Tour will have a kickoff holiday tree lighting ceremony at the Agora on December 13th, and with lots of other opportunities to kind of get in the zone for the festivities of the actual tour itself. Some other events in Fitchburg that we help promote. I will mention that the Kelly Moss Motor Show is this weekend on Saturday at the Agora. If you have a car buff in your family or a racing car buff in your family, that's supposed to be quite an excellent event. That's on Saturday, I believe, from like 10 to 2. Kelly Moss Motorsports, a real asset in the Fitchburg community. They've got international fame for their race cars. Let's see, what else? I guess I'll also mention that this year the Burby Derby is now the Birdie Derby, and we've been working with the new organizers from Tri-4 Schools on kind of the transition. They are now the owners of that event. We want to make sure that they have a smooth transition and keep that event, which is kind of a signature event for Fitchburg. We want to make sure they keep that here in Fitchburg. Things seem to be going well, but I just wanted to remind everybody to support them if they can and continue with the tradition of Thanksgiving Day run. We also serve as the front door for Fitchburg, providing kind of, like I mentioned, that concierge service for visitors and for residents who want more information about the community. We work closely with our partners, and we have a lot of them, Destination Madison, Travel Wisconsin, of course, all of our Fitchburg hotel properties. The group Bike Fitchburg here in Fitchburg does a lot of great work for biking in our community, the Bike Federation of Wisconsin.
It's important.
And as I mentioned, the two events that we are new this year, I encourage you to check out on our website. And if you haven't connected to these places, these are a good place to connect: Facebook, Instagram, and of course our monthly newsletter, which I referenced. I really do recommend you sign up for that if you haven't already. You'd be surprised how many things are happening in our community every month, and we always try to make sure we can promote them as much as possible. All right, that's all I got. Any questions?
Angela, this is Mark. I've got a question. How is Bike the Berg going this year compared to previous years?
We are at the same, well, this was as of 2 weeks ago, so it might be more, but we are at the same level of sponsorship that we were last year, Mark. We were hoping to surpass it. We may have surpassed it. I haven't checked in with Catherine at this point. We did get some press for Bike the Berg this year, but we got a little bit bumped we were going to get a lot more, but we got bumped by some activities in downtown Madison that took preference. But Bike the Berg, I tell Catherine too, the signups are one thing, but it's and that's great. We have a great amount of signups, and that continues to grow. But it's really an opportunity to continue to promote that brand in our community. It's about like the continual marketing and a conversation about biking in Fitchburg that takes place from May to September. So different ways that we promote biking in Fitchburg throughout the summer.
Thank you.
Oh, there's two.
Other questions for Angela? Alder Allen, you had your hand
Yeah,
up.
Angela came to one of our, was it a council meeting or committee of the whole meeting in the last month or so? One of those.
Yep.
And one of the questions that I asked, and something for this committee to think about also, is what one of the things I've felt for a long time is that Fitchburg is lacking in like a real destination. Like we have a bowling alley, we have a movie theater, but some kind of broader recreational type of destination that would be a year-round thing. So as we're in the process of continuing to try to find things to go into Uptown, and I'd like us to really try to vision what we would like to have, what kind of amenity could Fitchburg have, what kind of destination could we have that maybe other communities don't have, that we could use to attract people here. I know we're trying to push some things on the pickleball front, but that only goes so far. And it's a good thing. I'm not diminishing it at all, but there's got to be some other things that we could do, that we could provide, that would bring people here, just to come and spend an afternoon or an evening or a weekend. And so that's something I'm trying to do some visioning about as to what might be appropriate. So If you have any ideas, please pass them on, and we can try to get them incorporated. Try to find, it's not that Fitchburg necessarily wants to run a entertainment venue, but if we could have some ideas as to where we could focus our efforts to recruit, that would be great.
Thank you. Good
I will
feedback
say-
and good comments. I'm sorry, Angela, go ahead.
Oh, I just will say, Jay, to that point, I met last week with Jamie Patrick and Brandon Holstein from the Madison Area Sports Commission, and talked about that in the area of sports. And again, maybe those are regular conversations that we need to have more frequently with them, but you'd be surprised the lack of, or the need for additional resources in that area. For example, Redden Park, they literally said that we could use a whole nother Redden Park and keep it full and active. So those type of things are certainly, they're not as, maybe not exactly what you're talking about, but if you look at kind of the need for sports and facilities, certainly we should keep that in mind as we are talking about this.
Okay. So,
Joe.
Mike, Joe,
Angela, I have a question. Have you heard at all, I mean, since the closing of Fast Forward, like there's no skating rink in Dane County as far as I know, like has there been any businesses that have expressed an interest in doing anything like that? I'm thinking Fitchburg might be a good destination for an indoor roller skating rink.
Roller skating rink, I haven't heard of anything, but might be some retro, I mean, I don't know what's needed for that, but certainly that's something we could, I know that's really popular. I just don't know the mechanics of running that kind of business, but yeah, we haven't had anybody express interest, but yeah, I did know that Fast Forward did close, which was certainly a long time running business. I mean,
Joe,
And popular and
yeah.
very
it's so
popular.
long. I skated there as a teenager, so that's
A lot of people have memories.
that's longevity.
Fast Forward, yeah.
Yeah.
Joe, we did reach out to the gentleman that had Fast Forward and talked about a needs assessment, and it's just we don't have any vacant buildings in Fitchburg that would meet their needs. So we did reach out to talk about, hey, is there a way we could maybe bring something like that here? So it's still, if something comes up, we'll definitely let them know. But we did reach out to them.
Just planting the seed.
Give us some more money and we're more than happy to work on that.
Okay, I'll try to philanthropically contribute.
Back in the day, I used to work at the Roller Drome, which was out on the Far East Side. I was a DJ there, and one of the things I learned about
I thought I recognized you.
one of the things I learned about that type of facility is you don't really want a space that's got posts in the middle of it supporting the roof, because that would be a little bit of a hazard to the people going around in an oval. So it's almost like it has to be a facility built for that purpose with a lot of clear space. And so I don't know that you're going to find an existing building that's going to work. But maybe it can be incorporated into another building. Like for instance, if we end up building some big buildings in Uptown, like I hope we will, maybe it could be in part of one of the floors or something like that, where you've got spancrete over the top and you don't have to worry about having a support post every 20 or 30 feet.
Maybe you can suggest that to the developer.
Believe me, they hear these things.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Yeah, just to piggyback on Jay's comments on visioning and kind of assets and amenities. We just had a meeting yesterday with Avante Properties regarding Uptown, and the sites L and M here in the middle, we actually are going to be hopefully going through a visioning exercise with them, and specifically something similar to trying to come up with what would be kind of that asset or amenity that would be in the public place and space of these two lots here, similar to maybe something like in downtown Middleton where they did the kind of the band shell or amphitheater there, also downtown Verona, or like what Monona did along the river there. So it's trying to determine what would be that kind of anchor asset that not only would be good for the neighborhood, but also would draw other people in the region to the neighborhood as well. So stay tuned for that. We just had the conversation yesterday, but we're hoping to engage a planning and visioning firm that would work with us collectively. And we would also utilize the Uptown Fitchburg Steering Committee, just because our capstone project didn't necessarily materialize the way that we had hoped. So stay tuned, and I'll keep you posted as we make progress on that.
Thank you, Mike. Other comments for Angela?
I have one. I just want to give a shout out to Angela and her staff. It's my yearly thank you publicly for all the work that they do for us. They spend countless hours just, hey, we pick up the phone, we need this, we need that, and they're always willing to go the extra mile for us. So please share Mike and myself's gratitude with your team, and we appreciate everything you do for the city.
Thank you, Joyce.
Go ahead, Mike, you had your hand up.
Oh, sure. Angela, just two questions on the Agora Fest and the holiday light show and kind of enhancement of that event. Is there a future request or role for CETA in that'll be coming forward, just to kind of prepare the committee?
So in addition to that event, we're looking at some lighting structures. Just as a reminder, the Holiday Lights Tour that was started by Lisa Sanford and some team members at City Hall a few years ago is incredibly popular with our residents and visitors. And so we've been expanding that and working with Lisa and her team and Jeremy at City Hall on expanding that event. And so this is an extension of that. There may be a small request. It would probably be in the range, if you would like to, for about $5,000. But I'm hesitant right now to make that request, simply because we're getting bids on some of the lighting structures, and I want to make sure it meets kind of our goals for Fitchburg. We're looking for some very specific Fitchburg branded type stuff, and so I'm hoping that can come to fruition, and then I may come back and see if you want to jump in and partner on that in some capacity. But our partnership with the Agora for the big event really helps us take our budget a lot farther. We are moving the date of the event to a Friday evening so that more families are able to attend. There'll be a lot of kids and family activities throughout the evening. Most everything will be free to the public. So we really are making sure that this can be a community-wide event. Everyone's welcome. And at this juncture, I'm not making a request, but I might pop back in to see if it makes sense. Obviously, our goal is to make sure that anything we do is sustainable long-term, that we can continue to grow the event. Holiday events have become really popular in other communities, and it really made sense for us to expand ours because we have so much going on in the summer that this made a lot of sense for us for the winter time.
Angela, quick question.
Sort of answer your question, Mike?
Yes, I just wanted to let the committee know that there might be a future request coming forward as plans are finalized.
Angela, I have a question. Do you have a sense, is there any way to measure kind of the revenue generation from that event, kind of tourism related in the city? I mean, the amount of people that are drawn into our city for that event, do you have any kind of data that says, oh, it's, we bring in X number of dollars in revenue for that?
You mean the event as it was before, like the Holiday Lights tour?
Yeah, like do people come here
So-
and then they go to restaurants and then they see a movie
Yeah.
or, you know, whatever?
So it's anecdotal data, but I mean, you know, there's in general, we could extrapolate, there's formulas that kind of countywide or from Destination Madison that we could do, but last year was the first time that we added our businesses to the community or to the event. And so it was a weekend, it used to be a one-day event. It was a weekend-long event starting on Friday, ending on Sunday. And businesses ran kind of holiday lights tour specials. And anecdotally, we had comments like, for example, from the Hop House, they said it was the best revenue for that weekend year over year that they've had. So that was good news. All the businesses that participated last year want to participate this year. So, you know, there certainly was evidence that people were coming for the tour and staying and hanging out and, you know, visiting our businesses. But that's about as, you know, that's as far as we have in terms of real data.
Okay, thank you.
Andy Potts had a comment over here.
Yeah, so I think back in 2019, Angela, you and your staff helped out, 'cause I chair the Governor's Bicycle Council, and you guys had helped us out with some data on just the economic impact of cycling in Wisconsin. So this is actually just more of a reminder to myself that we're updating it since it's been 5 years since that report came out. So I will probably be reaching out to you to get some updated metrics on, I think it was
Okay.
helpful for them to look at sort of Fitchburg as an example and then use that to extrapolate out on more of a statewide basis. So that should be coming out probably early next year.
Great.
Any other comments for Angela?
Just a question, another question, Angela, and not to put you on the spot, but the B cycle, expansion and extension, any high level just on the number of additional stations and kind of bikes that'll be kind of positioned in the community?
So the phase one, yeah, as you remember, was all done last year. We anticipate there's been about 40 new docks or bikes positioned throughout phase two. That's thanks to city staff and the TAP grant funding. And we have about 40 to 50 more to position. We met last week and we're meeting again, I think, next week, about getting those positioned and making sure you'll see them in a wider variety of our areas, wider geographic areas. We want to make sure that we're hitting all kind of quadrants of the community. So we have I think there's about 50 more, 45 to 50 more bikes that need to go out this year. And then again, that was funded by the TAP grant. So that's kind of the update in terms of ridership. The last data I saw was mid-May, so kind of early, but it was very good for not just the entire B-cycle program, but for Fitchburg also. Anecdotally, we receive only positive feedback that we're part of that system now.
Thanks, Angela.
So, yeah, if you want actual locations, I can update you later, but I can also send you the link to our site, which lists our Fitchburg stations. And then, like I said, we've got about at least 5 more stations to implement this year as they are funded by the TAP grant.
One more, just a relevant thing to that. There is a station reserved to go at the hub, once the hub gets going up in that north side of town. And that's why there hasn't been one placed up there yet. They're waiting for that building to go in and hopefully put it right across the street. So that will tie into that. Yes, Jay.
Are we able to get information from B-Cycle about, like, if somebody picks up a bike at, say, the Limerick and they go to City Hall, are we able to see where people are going when they use one of these?
B-Cycle provides it's like a heat map. So you'll be, I wouldn't say individual trips, but, and I can ask for an updated ridership and usership. Because like I said, it was early May or mid-May that I saw it last. And obviously that was, summer hadn't even started. But they'll provide like a heat map, Jay, where you can see where the most traveled, not necessarily station to station, but kind of the most traveling going on. Does that make sense? I can ask if there's more specific data for that. They have kind of best practices, like, the average ride is 3 to 4 miles. And so there's a method to the madness about where you place stations. You want to place stations within, 3 to 5 miles or even closer to each other. But I can certainly ask for updated information. In fact, I think we should have some, definitely by the end of July, just to give us an idea of how the program's going in Fitchburg.
Yeah, I mean, I had been looking at the map last year, and then a couple of weeks ago I was looking at it again, and we have a boatload of stations like right around City Hall. There's 4 of them here. But for example, over where Target is, where someone might want to go and maybe get some food at Target or Aldi and take it home, there's not really anything over in that section of the city at all.
So that's Jay, what we're working on right now, and that's certainly been a directive from not only council but as part of the TAP grant program, and so we're certainly working on that right now. There's a couple hurdles, and part of it is access to biking that's safe. Obviously
Right.
So we want to make sure that if you're going to hop on a B-cycle, you have to look at where the next station is or where that person or persons might want to go. And is there a relatively safe route? Are there bike lanes on the road? Is there access to a bike trail? That type of thing. So that there's a lot of discussion about that. But we will see stations in that side of town. I'm hoping this year yet, for sure. The same with Southdale, our new neighborhoods in Fitchburg. We'll see a station over there too.
So just a relevant point, all that was talked about in the planning into phase 2. The Bike Commission struggles with getting people across Verona Road. It is. You got Williamsburg. That's about it, and you got to get over there and then get across, and then get across again to get to Target and to Hy-Vee and Aldi, and you can come around from the back end, but you got to get people to go that far. So it is on the window, and it was part of the initial project to look at it. Uptown's the other part, and Southdale, as Angela said, is the third part. So they want over 100 bikes out here ultimately. That's the goal. And they can track the general usage, as Angela said. I don't think they do get the GPS that I rode this to the library and not back. Yeah, Andy.
Yeah. So on the data, they will give you, this bike was checked out here and was checked back in here. They do have GPS on some of their bikes, but they won't share that data due to privacy concerns. But they will do heat maps of here's generally where people have been riding.
So how far can someone go on a B-cycle before it has to be recharged again?
It depends on how. Yeah, go ahead, Angela.
Oh, no. I mean, you could go 20 miles if you want to.
Right.
20, 30 miles. It depends on, as Mark's probably going to say, I think, what is it, Mark? The weight, the distance, how hard they're pedaling. But the average ride is, I think, 3 miles, Mark. Is that right?
Yeah.
3 to 5 miles?
Anecdotally, you can go to Paola and back. That's anecdotally.
Okay.
Again, they'll still ride when the battery dies. They just get very heavy.
Yeah, well.
But anecdotally, that's what you can do. And then, of course, Trek or B-Cycle tracks all those. They know when a battery's gone dead. They have a truck that works 24/7, 7 days a week, that goes out and services these bikes. So they constantly know. That's, as Andy said, how they're all linked together. So it's a pretty neat network. We also hope to have something over in Southtown as it gets developed. Yeah. Go ahead, Andy. You're going to say something?
Since you mentioned Paola, my understanding is that Paola is also looking at expanding their network out there.
I guess I was just trying to get some idea for other transit options. If we know where people are going, it would be helpful. But if somebody was at the Limerick and they took a bike to, let's say, to Pick and Save, we wouldn't necessarily know that's where they went. and then they just drove back home, we would just know it was picked up at Limerick and dropped off at Limerick. And
So if they
So
presumably
there
checked
is-
it in, they
there-
would get it. So if they checked it out at the Limerick and checked it in somewhere else, went shopping, we would know that. But yeah, if they just took it, parked it out front, and didn't redock it, then no, we would only just see it checked out at Limerick, returned at Limerick.
Angela, you had a point?
Oh, I just would mention just a reminder, Jay, pre-electric bikes, B-cycles were primarily a leisure activity. They still are leisure activities, but the reason Fitchburg kind of came to the table here and thought it was time to be added to this is that there's now a lot more data nationwide that e-bikes are being used for transportation for employment. And so, which is why we kind of, this, again, kudos to city staff for the heavy lift of the TAP grant. That's why we participated in that, and we're hoping that the addition of those 100 bikes add some transportation options for people that grocery shopping or transportation, that type of thing. I will also mention, just since we're talking about B-Cycle, that there is in the budget some funding for free bike passes, specifically for some of those things like transportation and or services. So we're talking about where those bike passes should be and how people get access to them. So if anybody has any ideas, please do let us know. But that's another thing that the city's making sure that people have access to the bikes regardless of opportunity or income or credit card, that type of thing.
And that's why there are bikes at the library, was ultimately to be able to get down to the library from other parts of the city. Andy, you had a point.
Yeah, and I think kind of to Angela's point and kind of going back on how we can track, like the bike was checked out here and checked in here. When we talked to B-Cycle, they said one of the things that I think kind of surprised them was a lot of the bikes get checked out here and then they get checked in like downtown Madison or at the UW Monday through Friday. And then they're getting checked out in the evening at the UW or downtown as people are biking back. So they're actually being used for commuting.
so it sounds, I mean, going back to what you had mentioned earlier, it sounds like a big challenge that we have is how do we get, and it's been a challenge for the city for years, is how do we get people either side of Verona Road? So I wonder, maybe that's something we can have some visioning about, is how do we, I don't want to build a couple $1 million bridge to go over Verona Road, but maybe there's another way that we can deal with that.
Well, again, maybe, Jay, maybe the Bike Commission, Bike and Ped Commission and the T&T Commission can talk about something of that endeavor together that would give us a good way to do that. Because there isn't any good way right now. And how it gets sold, and more importantly, this is why, as I said, Angela said, there were no B-cycles initially put on the other side of Verona Road because we didn't have a easy link to Fitchburg, to this side of Fitchburg. So I think that's a good idea, and I'll make sure we put it on the agenda and at least vision it. So.
Well, I know that there's been some preliminary discussion about Fitch-Verona Road and widening it possibly, but there's that bridge that 18151 goes over isn't wide enough. So if we do end up doing something in terms of making that a more accessible location, maybe we can think about how we could connect that more effectively to the rest of the city, because that is, it's kind of south, from where a lot of people want to go, and if they have to take Lacey Road, to get to wherever else they want to go, that might not be the best route, but maybe there's another way we can work around that.
I will put it on the Bike Commission agenda as we begin to meet next. So it's a good thing in the long run, but we just got to figure it out. Other comments for Angela or about B-cycles? So
Angela, I have a quick question, and this is probably just for my own curiosity, but one day I saw a bike laying on McKee Road by that wooded area just west of Richardson, if somebody checks out a bike and just dumps it like that, do they get their membership revoked, or how does that work? Because to me, it seems like there should be some type of policy like that.
Yeah, I really don't know that answer, Joyce. That's why they have, obviously, B-Cycle knows where that bike is, and they go and retrieve it and, put it back in a dock. But I think when you check out a bike, you sign a release form saying you're responsible for the bike, but I don't actually know what the consequences are.
Okay, I was just
I don't know
curious.
if there's a B-Cycle jail. I don't know if there's a B-Cycle jail, Joyce.
Well, I hope so. I could sign a few people up.
Well, I will tell you, we raised that early on. If you have a wreck on that bicycle, you're liable for it. That's part of the waiver that you sign when you get on it. So any repairs that have to happen to that. So my guess is, as Angela said, somebody knows it was there and they went out and got it. Okay, if there's nothing else, we will let Angela get back to her day. Thank you for giving us a great update, and I concur with Mike and Joyce's comments that our Chamber and Visitor Bureau does an excellent job for our city, and thank your staff for the hard work, and you too. So we will move on to the next item. Oh, thank you. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda. We pretty much covered number 10. Is that correct? We talked about it, Joyce, and you referred everybody to the document. Do we need any further discussion on the Alliance Center? No. Okay. Then we will move into our Economic Development and Director and Committee Member reports. So, Mike and Joyce, take it away.
I'll kick it off. There's an event later today at 3:30 p.m. at McKee Farms Park for the FitCore equipment, which is the circuit training equipment. There was a generous donation by Inventure Capital of FitCore equipment valued at well over $100,000. It's got 8 stations. So it's installed at McKee Farms Park, and we're having the ribbon cutting today with a demonstration by Mike Thorson, and then also Trent from our assessing department. So they're going to be trying out the equipment, and I think FACTv is going to be kind of filming and videoing the circuit that you can do and the different exercises. So please join us for that today at 3:30 at McKee Farms Park. The next Fitchburg Biz After Hours is scheduled for Tuesday, July 16th, 4:30 to 6:30. That's going to be at the Flight Wine and Bourbon Bar, and this one is presented by the Cesta, which is the senior housing development that's envisioned for Terra Vesa. Hopefully they're going to be breaking ground sometime in 2025 for that development. On a couple of economic development projects, the Spring Hill Suites is all approved. We're just waiting for a potential date for them to do a groundbreaking ceremony over there. That's going to be on the lot adjacent to Pancake Cafe, 100-room Spring Hill Suites. In the discussion with B-Cycle last week, that was another reason that Helen from B-Cycle is very interested in seeing a station somewhere over in Orchard Point, too, as we work through those kind of safety issues related to bike access. And then we're continuing conversations with UW Health regarding their rehabilitation hospital project. That would be the first medical kind of use anchor in Uptown. So we had a meeting last week, Monday, with Mike McCabe from UW Health Real Estate, and we'll be continuing to progress those plans forward, along with they'll be participating in that visioning that we're looking to do in Uptown with Avante Properties as well. Boom Boom Bell Bridal Shop is open on Fish Hatchery Road in the Terrace Point building at 3111. So that's a new business that we welcome to the community. And then the Mayor Julia, Chad, and I have been going out and doing multiple business visits around the community. So we've recently been out to Park Bank, CertCo. We had One Neck IT Solution just came in and met with us this week. And then some upcoming business visits include Playcon in 2 weeks. And then we're going to be visiting with the folks here, our neighbors in the southwest corner of Fish Hatchery and Lacey, the iHeart Communications, including just kind of talking to them about the future of their property at that corner as well. So we're opening the dialogue with them on that. The Greenfield Neighborhood Plan and the South Stoner Prairie Neighborhood Plan processes continue. They've kind of taken the multiple iterations of potential land uses and are narrowing those down into one or two that they'll be bringing forward for each of those respective neighborhood plans. So our colleagues in the planning department continue to move that forward. And then we're working on a TIF request from Sub-Zero Group for the corporate conference center that they're bringing to Fitchburg. It'll be in the neighborhood of about $565,000 to help with extraordinary site costs. And then we're going to be looking at the closure of Basswood Drive there, which is part of their kind of enhanced safety and security for their campus. So stay tuned for that. We're just kind of finalizing the details. And a couple of other development projects through the planning department and council. The Wingra outfield quarry on the west side of Fitcherona Road. Coburn Hunley continues to move that forward. They just got approval for preliminary plat and rezone request. And this will be for 4 lots along McKee Road for a bank, 2 quick service restaurants, and possibly a car wash there. In the middle, to the north there, it could go to either one large box or a collection of junior boxes, anywhere from about 100,000 to 125,000 square feet. And then as Fitcherona veers to the east, on the north side there, Corey Frank is going to be looking to do another Texas wrap kind of apartment building, probably about 280 apartment buildings with the parking structure in the middle. So we're continuing to move that one forward. There's another 15 buildable lots in Terra Vesa that the final plat was approved for. And then we made some amendments to our business highway zoning district ordinance. We moved some uses like adult entertainment from permitted to conditional. And then also on the car wash front, we put down that they're associated with gas or other kind of fuel convenience stores there. There's been multiple car washes kind of circling, looking at some of our prime property, and we'd like a little bit more evaluation of where those go and how many are located in our community. And then Fred DeViller's project, which will bring us another 60 lots of single family in the last lot in Swan Creek north of East Sherrill Parkway is progressing and moving forward there. So that will bring us some more housing inventory. And then the former Quick Trip building at Williamsburg Way, that's been closed. The Francisco, who owns La Hispana Grocery at the Fitchburg Ridge Shopping Center, is going to be expanding and opening another location there. So he's purchased that building from Quick Trip. It'll probably be a couple of months yet before that actually opens. He's got some more equipment coming in, but that'll bring some much needed kind of grocery choices and options to the neighborhood in a good repositioning and purposing of that former Quick Trip building over there. And then I'll turn it over to Joyce to give us a update on other housing activities.
Before I give you an update on the Efficiency Navigator program, I did want to mention, kind of piggyback on Mike's comments about the hotel. We ended up having to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals over the signage, and I guess this comment is going to go to Joe and Jay. As we look to do some updates to our zoning ordinance, we're finding that when we bring in these national brands, that they have sign packages requirements that are a little bit more than what we have in our zoning code. And as we transition from more of a township and into an urban area, I just want to put a plug in for consideration for that. So,
and just to piggyback on that, the developer scaled back kind of Marriott's prototypical sign package, so they reduced it. They didn't just kind of accept everything that comes with Marriott, but it still was more than what we allow because we're at 150 total square feet per business. I think the other challenge that we have is our sign code is very suburban. So when it comes to height, we've got to get height variances for some of the signage for taller buildings because the Marriott's going to be basically 5 stories, over there. So that's another kind of variance that we had to look at. So even as we look at Uptown and a lot of those kind of higher level and dense buildings, we want to make sure that we allow for those modifications for kind of that naming and signage band that maybe is at the top of the building and everything that makes a lot of sense.
And especially if they want visibility from the highway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I've been looking at because that's a 46-foot maximum, right? Yeah, and that's just not going to cut it because the stuff that we're talking about in Uptown is going to be way taller than that, hopefully. Hopefully. And I don't have any problem with rooftop signage, but I think we need, I know that the mayor had put something in for updating the sign code. There's some budgeted amount for that. I mean, I like the 150 square feet mostly, but when you're talking about larger scale buildings, that's probably not going to work. So I think we need to have some stepped things like maybe if you're in a 3-story building, 150 square feet is fine. But if you're over that, then maybe we need to have a different level. So that's certainly, I think that's certainly stuff that the council is willing to talk about and hopefully move forward to try to attract these larger scale businesses.
Yeah, I know just with the national brands, they have certain franchise package, and I think we need to really recognize, because I think this is the 3rd or 4th request, correct? At least, that we've had because they require more, so. On a different note, housing. So I'm very, very excited to report that the Efficiency Navigator program was launched July 17th. And as of yesterday, we have received applications from 7 owners, looking at 10 different buildings with a total of 76 units. So it goes to show you that there is definitely a need and a demand for updating our older apartment buildings. So we're really excited about this program. I was actually shocked when we had our update and they told me that this is, so we have 2 in the Southdale neighborhood. We have 1 in the Duns Marsh, Belmar, and then we have the remainder are over in Jamestown. And so our focus is on 4 to 16 units in the healthy neighborhoods. And I believe we identified 55 properties that they reached out to share the information about the program. So we're well over 10% already, and it's only been a week. So the process is the property owner fills out a application online, and then the Sustained Dane staff does an update. Because if you remember, they have to be at 80% of Dane County median income or less to qualify. So they have a whole list of questions that they go through with the property owner once they have them on the phone, and that's called the intake call. And then after the intake call, then we'll determine which properties will get the assessments. Once we get the assessments and the reports back, we will, as a collective group, prioritize which properties we want to look at for funding. Then the funding request will go to the council, and then we'll start. So then once Sustained Dane is done with their portion, then Elevate comes in, and they actually do the hiring and the management of the projects. So we were really excited about, this approach, because we really feel like it's going to help not only our property owners, but the tenants also have to pay the utilities, so that there is a direct benefit to the tenants. So
this was one of the priorities that was identified in our housing plan that was adopted in 2019 as far as upgrading that older existing multifamily housing stock. So we're really excited about it, and with this kind of interest level in our 2025 budget, we probably will include another bucket of dollars, which is coming again from our TID for housing dollars. So there is money and capacity there, but we'll probably add some additional dollars for 2025.
All good news, Joyce.
hey, I got a gold star.
Go ahead, Joe.
Gold star. Yeah, much appreciation to both of you for and for taking on this initiative. Is there somewhere where we can actually find out which properties have been approved? I mean, and I know it'll come to council eventually, but would you be able to send that to CETA?
Can you share that, folks? I don't know. I don't know, Joe. I mean, I'm looking at Mike and Joyce.
I guess that's something I'm going to have to run by Sustain Dane, just what type of information they want to share at this point. Are you just curious who's all reached out?
Yeah, which properties? Because I mean, I heard the neighborhoods mentioned, so just kind of curious about what properties. Because I've definitely seen a lot of properties in all of those neighborhoods that need upgrades.
Yeah, they did reach out to, our goal was to really focus on the smaller, we don't want to do complexes. We don't have enough money to do anything like that. We really wanted to focus on the smaller kind of mom and pop type buildings and ownership. I guess I probably could just send out the addresses. But Joe, just keep in mind that we may get calls from tenants also that are going to, ask that we look at their property. So I just want to make sure that we're not putting anybody's confidentiality at risk. Does that make sense?
It does completely.
Mike and Joyce, anything else?
On the rent-to-own program, we're having an internal meeting. It's probably going to be on July 9th, where it's with administration, finance, legal, with our consultants from H&A, Mike Harrigan and Steve Affelbach, about that program, to kind of see where we're still kind of vetting the risk mitigation for that potential program. So that's the reason and the purpose of that meeting. And then right now we are scheduled on the housing front to go and appear at the Committee of the Whole meeting in September to provide an update on all of the various housing programs that we've been working on, the Efficiency Navigator, the Rent-to-Own, and then we're continuing to have discussions about the program parameters for trying to incorporate affordable within market rate. So we're working with our financial advisors, Ellers, and one developer in particular trying to put some program parameters that would work for them and also would work for us. We're not there yet. There's still kind of a gap, but we're continuing those conversations going forward, so we'll keep you posted on that. And then we're also excited to announce that we have a candidate that has accepted the position for the Housing Initiatives and Program Specialist position. Her name is Lorene Gage, and she will be starting on Monday, July 22nd. So we're getting things in place to welcome her to Fitchburg and to our community, and we'll have her at probably the next CETA meeting to say hi and introduce herself. But that'll bring us some much-needed staff capacity to allow additional time and attention to focus on these housing priorities and initiatives.
Yeah. That's great news. So congratulations to the both of you, and look forward to meeting your new employee. Anything else from you two?
Oh, we're working on the 2025 budget. Our season has already started. And the budget sheets are due on July 23rd. So if you have any suggestions or ideas, we really have to come in at status quo as far as the general fund budget, because net new construction is probably going to be half of what it was last year. So just something to keep in mind. And of course, then there's already increases built in with health insurance costs and stuff like that. So there's not a lot of additional capacity for new initiatives. We're fortunate that we have the housing fund. So on the housing fund, we've got some resources that we can continue to move initiatives forward. And then the room tax dollars allow us to do some things on more of that kind of promotion, marketing, and economic development. But it's going to be, I think, a lean year from a general levy fund perspective.
Okay. Thank you very much. The looking at the agenda here under number 11 and with Mike and Joyce's, we've already talked about the B cycle, so I assume there's no more update to give on that. We kicked that can pretty good. I'll next move to item number 12 on the agenda, which is announcements. Do any CETA members have announcements? Alder Allen.
Just have a couple of things. I
Sure.
want to remind members that the city is still working toward a referendum to raise our total property tax levy. We need to add some firefighters. We need to add some police officers. We need to possibly fund the new police station if that's going to get built. And there just isn't any money to do it right now. So we're beginning a rather lengthy educational campaign that's going to consist of 7 outreach meetings and a few mailings, and so hopefully that's something that we can get passed in November. And the other thing that I wanted to bring your attention to, in May, the county finished their strategic plan for housing. So this is 23 pages of another 180 or 190 page document. I sent the links to both of these to Joyce, so if you could send them on to the committee. And basically, Dane County has identified that they need to add 7,000 residential units every year until 2050 at least, which is a lot of housing units. And so the question is, how do we get there from here? And part of it, a big part of this is dealing with the affordable housing issues. Like, I don't really understand why it is that we can't build a house for less than $400,000, but that's just the way it is right now. And with some of the federal banking restrictions, it's very, very difficult to build condo units. And so that's why, when people are concerned about how many apartments are going up, well, that's what's easiest to build right now. That's what the developers can do. So, but even the apartments, like I live in one of the new apartments on Lacey Road, and my rent is $2,200 a month. So, I mean, these are just absurd amounts of money that we're talking about that are going into housing, and something's going to break. So, the plan just came out at the beginning of May. I've looked through part of it, but again, it's it's almost 200 pages, so it's a lot to get through and digest. And basically, Dane County's trying to figure out how to partner with all the municipalities because 7,000 units is a lot every year. So hopefully, this will provide some ways to have some partnerships and get some things done that will relieve some of the stress in housing.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
to piggyback on Jay's highlighting that, Olivia Perry from Dane County, who was the staff person that kind of coordinated that initiative, she provided our Housing Advisory Committee with an update and an overview of that at the last meeting. And of that 7,000 number, I think the breakdown is 3,700 multifamily units and 3,300 single-family units there. And some of our discussions on affordability is the best thing we can do to help affordability is inventory of not only single-family housing, but multifamily rental and multifamily ownership as much as we can. Because until we get the market back into equilibrium, it's a challenge for all of our communities at all levels of government to have a checkbook big enough to address the affordability issue. So it's going to take everybody collectively, not only the public sector, but the private sector partners there, with the builders, the realtors, across all spectrums there. And one of the things that we'll probably bring forward is Brian McKee, who serves on our Housing Advisory Committee, had shared a document that the Wisconsin Builders Association, the realtors, and the League of Municipalities put out about communities being housing ready. And we just went through that internally with our Development Review Committee. So to kind of see where we're at with some of those initiatives and protocols that they had there. So we'll probably be bringing that forward to the Housing Advisory Committee in this group with our colleague Deanna Schmidt from the Planning Department. But we just went through that internally just to kind of see where we match up. One thing we'd like to do is, even though we have a zoning ordinance rewrite coming, because that's one of the things that's on the checklist there, we'd like to check with WIDA with the dollars that they do have available for financing infrastructure for kind of new subdivisions for developers is, could we qualify for that funding, at least in smart code neighborhoods there, since we've updated that portion and brought that into our zoning code. So that's a conversation that we'd like to have with staff from WIDA. So we'll keep you posted on those future conversations.
Well, Mike, just an anecdotal comment to tie into what Jay started and what you then reported. We've also got a new superintendent. Those of us that live in Madison school districts, we've got a new superintendent of public schools who wants, I think, $600 million. Is that right? So how that's going to get distributed and funded to build new schools and infrastructure is all going to tie in and overlay over all this affordability.
Yeah.
And we just need to be aware of that as it all gets planned. But that, I think we're going to hear more and more about that now that he's in the job and has assessed what was already a problem for a long time. I mean, my kids went through those schools and they were falling apart back then. So anyway.
Well, that referendum is going to be, that's operating referendum.
But there's buildings too. Excuse me, I'm sorry. He needs both operating and building infrastructure. So I think it's going to be, I just heard 600 million, Jay, that's all.
Yeah, I think the 600 million is the operating budget because they can just build buildings. Like we can just build buildings. And then it just gets added into the property tax levy and because you have to pay debt service. So we can build as many buildings as we want. Well, but we have lots. The city of Fitchburg has lots and lots and lots of debt capacity right now. So we can go out and borrow money and build buildings. The referendum issues are focused on operating expenses, which is what's Madison's school district has had deferred maintenance for God knows how many years, and they just can't get caught up. And we're trying to avoid having to do that in Fitchburg by having this referendum now. So, but that will be, it'll be a bite because we're looking at possibly we're looking at raising our operating expenditures by $5.5 million or so maybe with the referendum. And Madison's looking for $600 million, and this.
Just adding on to it.
Yeah.
Anything else, Mike, Joyce, anybody else in the committee?
Hey, I guess we haven't announced that the city received a bond upgrade as well. So we were pretty excited, and Mike worked hard on selling the city to Moody's when they came out for their tour. So
we're excited to announce we're AAA.
There we go.
Bond rating, a 30-year journey to kind of get to that level. And kudos to generations of elected officials, generations of staff to get to that level, and the support of a lot of different people. And then our financial advisors, Ellers, who really put us on that plan and path back in the mid-'90s to lead to getting to that level.
Well, congratulations.
Thanks to everybody.
That's great to hear. Other comments from anybody on the committee?
I mentioned at the council meeting when that announcement came out that I was elected the same year Doug Morissette was, back in 1993. And at that point in time, our bond rating was in the toilet because of very, very bad decisions that were made previously. And Doug had the vision to hire Ellers and bring them in to start working on a strategic financial plan. And we've gotten to a point now where we don't borrow. We don't borrow for things like chip sealing the roads. We have the money to just do it and get it done. And the stuff, the things that we had to borrow for on a regular basis are things you should never borrow. I mean, you know, like chip sealing on a road, which lasts for 5 or 6 years. We were borrowing on 10-year notes because there just wasn't any money to do it. So it has been a long road, and the road was even better than that because last year we had excess money in our undesignated cash reserve. So some of that was used for some one-time expenditures to help us out, but we've gotten to a point now where we are strategically, financially in a very good place. We just, because of the restrictions from the state, we're kind of screwed for the time being. So hopefully, like I said, hopefully the referendum passes and we can add the staff that we need. And one of the things that's vital that I was trying to push for when I was mayor was a communications director, because we just need somebody to unify all the city communications. And I don't know if you've seen it yet, but we have a brand new communications page that just launched on the city's website just in the last week or so. So if you haven't had a chance to look at that, please do. And hopefully we can get everything unified so people know what's going on. But yeah, it's a great accomplishment to get to a AAA bond rating. I remember being told that we just would never get there because we didn't have enough valuation. So I guess we do now. And Moody's has changed some of their criteria, from what I understand from Misty Dodge, our finance director. But for thanks to our economic development department and our finance department and all of the other departments who have worked to make sure that we stay financially responsible.
That's good. Thank you. Any other comments for the good of the group? Hearing none, I will announce that our next meeting is Thursday, July 25th. That correct, Mike and Joyce? And
yes.
With that, we will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved by Alder Allen and seconded by Jen. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, lots going on. We'll see you on July 25th. And those of you that can make the ribbon cutting this afternoon over at McKee Farms Park at 3:30, we'll see you there. Thank you.